Now I'm going to interview my grandmother. I call her Gaga. Can you remember any major hardships in your time growing up?
Actually, no. I think that I had a very fine upbringing. It was very pleasant, and we had a nice house in a nice neighborhood, and my father had a good job, and my mother stayed home with me, and um, I had a lot of friends, and as far as I can remember, we had everything we needed, and I can't remember any hardships at all.
Can you tell me what your relationship with your parents was when you were growing up?
Well, I was their daughter, and that was my relationship to them.
Well, I mean, was it? Did you get along with your parents? Did they?
Oh yeah, of course. I think I got along better with my dad than I did with my mother, but I think that's kind of normal.
Can you tell me about your time raising my mom and Aunt Katie and Aunt Betsy?
Well, it was difficult at times because their father had passed away when they were 3, 5, and 8 years old. Their mother was 8, and Betsy was 5, and Katie was 3. So I had to go to work full time, and so it was a little difficult to be working full time and still trying to raise 3 girls without a dad.
Can you tell me about your life in the business world?
Well, when I went to work, which was in 1971, it was really just the very beginning of the time that women were in the workforce at all, because most women of my era were counted on to just stay home and be married and run the house and fix the meals and raise the kids. I had a background in English and journalism and things like that. So I got a job in the advertising business, and that was good because it was one of the few businesses that paid a decent salary to women in that time. So I had a very good career and was able to support my 3 kids and keep my house, and that was a wonderful thing. When it became apparent that I was going to work until I was 65, one of my friends and I started a secretarial temporary service. It was aimed specifically at the advertising agencies in Chicago because there were so many different kinds of, that was when computers were just coming in, and there were so many different kinds of computer software that there were not many temps that knew all the different kinds of software. My partner, Elsie, trained people on the computer. We bought one of the first computers there was. And I remember going to buy that computer, and the salesmen, who were men, paid no attention to us when we walked in and started looking at all the floor models and everything. And finally, I pulled out my gold American Express card and slapped it down on the counter and said I wanted to buy something, and they all leaped around. They were very surprised. And so I said, if you can get this to my office by tomorrow, I'll buy it. So they did. And I think that by the time we did retire, which was in the year 2000, that women had really made their way into business and were respected as competent people in the workforce.
Yeah, I mean, she was a pretty successful business owner in a time when it was difficult for women to do that. It's worth mentioning that she is a single mother, and I think that she sort of feels frustrated because, she did well in her business, but then it wasn't enough. It didn't. I can tell she's not happy with where that went.
What are some stories of hardship?
I mean, it was really hard. It was a family, and my mom is, all of their kids. When my dad died, and my mom I was left with these 3 little kids because we were 7, 5, and 3. So that was hard. That's a hardship. I mean, that made everything hard.
But they grew up like other little kids. They went to Brownies and Girl Scouts and played in the neighborhood and did all the things that most kids do. You know, it was just basically a growing up childhood, kind of like yours, you know, just like everybody else's. All the normal things. Like, you know, tried to provide everybody with to make things as normal as possible.
You know, mom's dad committed suicide when she was young, and so there was a vacuum, and I don't think that God really knew how to fill it. There's a lot to be desired for a person in that position in terms of emotional security. And I don't really know where my mom is getting that from for most of her life. I know that she left home early. I think she ran away. I think she had like a kid when she was really young. I don't know if you didn't know that. We have a half sister. Okay. I can't remember her name, but she has blonde hair. She's older than either of us. Any of us. She was like 20 when I was like young, you know.
Wow.
She also worked in advertising. That's how she met my dad. So she worked for various magazines, as I recall, magazines after my dad died, selling ad space in magazines. And she, you know, she was cool. She was, I mean, it's interesting for me now, you know, to be able to say, oh, she was cool, because, you know, when I was your age, you know, she was not, you know. You know, because my mom was just like a total bitch all the time whenever she was around, and she wasn't around a lot. I mean, it was harder because, you know, she would say, well, you know, I did the best I could, so, you know, at a certain point, you have to accept that. She, you know, had a hell of a job on her hands. I mean, she had these 3 little kids, you know, she had a mortgage to pay, you know, I mean, there was a lot of drama.
I guess when I think about who I was as a child, there's just so many things that I didn't decide, you know, that I felt so responsible for at the time, but had no reason to feel responsibility for. I don't know, it's like, I look back on the things that I did and the things that I thought were cool or whatever, and it's just like, I can see how it was all just like a reaction to my environment, and I can see it much more objectively and without, you know, judgment on myself, you know, for how I was or how I thought. Because I know that I was in such a little box. I don't know, and it's just like when I think about my parents or the relationships that I had with you guys, you know, it's sometimes very difficult because I feel like we were all in that box. You know, you just figure out that really there's hierarchy everywhere. And once you realize that, it's just kind of like you see that it's not your parents' fault, you know, because they were born into a box too. So it's hard to see, it's hard to step back and say, no, it's okay, you know, what happened when I was a child is okay, because I was just responding to my environment and the people and events around me. Like once you get to that point, it's kind of liberating, but at the same time it's a little bit frightening. And that's kind of where I'm